When I was in 7th grade, I started dating my first girlfriend. This made me really nervous for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm gay. And I was afraid she would find out before I was ready to come out. Number two, I have type 1 diabetes. Having a disease, for some reason, translated as being shameful. I was afraid that if she found out that I was flawed in this way, if she knew that my life expectancy was shorter, if she knew that I was at risk for a whole host of other illnesses or complications, that she wouldn't want to be with me. That experience ultimately propelled me into coming out as a gay man. It took me a lot longer, though, to come out as a diabetic. Diabetes is an autoimmune disease where your pancreas can't fight the amount of sugar in your blood. Diabetics have to manually inject a hormone called insulin to help them combat that sugar. If there's too much sugar in your bloodstream, it sort of acts like sandpaper to your organs, tearing them down from the inside out over time. If there's too little, in the immediate, you can get dizzy, lose consciousness, and in more urgent situations, you might have a seizure or end up in a coma. What's unique about diabetes, and unlike a lot of other diseases, is that consistently the patient is the caregiver. My doctors can help me choose the right medications. They can help me plan for what might be best. They can't be with me on the front lines when I ask servers at restaurants how many grams of carbohydrates are in their bread rolls, or how I might calculate my medication for a stressful situation when that might spike my blood sugar. I'm the one who makes the decisions about my care. I choose when I take my medication. I choose if I take my medication. I choose how much medication I take. That meant that as a kid, when I wasn't yet ready to share this part of myself, I sometimes skipped insulin injections or blood sugar checks, not considering, of course, that diabetics are at a 2 times higher risk of having a heart attack than the average American, or that 73,000 lower limb amputations happen every single year on diabetic patients alone. It's really overwhelming, though, to feel responsible to some of those statistics. Because our bodies change and evolve so much with various experiences or activities, when you're responsible for administering a hormone that your body should but can't produce, you're bound to make mistakes. I've lived with diabetes for almost 18 years, and I still get the same feeling of disappointment when my blood sugars are off. And I still feel just as proud of myself when I calculate my medications correctly. I work in a Jewish organization, and I'm surrounded by Jewish texts all the time. I came across one a few months ago that taught me how taking insulin is a mitzvah. The text tells us that when Hillel would leave to go somewhere, people would stop him on his way and ask him where he was going. His reply would be, "I'm going to do a mitzvah." "What mitzvah are you going to do, Hillel?" "I'm going to the bathroom." "And going to the bathroom is a mitzvah?" "Yeah, so our bodies don't get destroyed." And then in a similar interaction, he's on his way to the bathhouse, and they want to know, why is going to the bathhouse a mitzvah? And he says, to clean the body. And then the text gives us an analogy, that it's like statues that stand in a king's palace, who have people appointed over them to polish and to clean them. And what's stunning about this text is that Hillel is both the statue and the polisher. We are responsible for polishing, cleaning, caring for our bodies. We're responsible for taking ourselves to the bathroom. We're responsible for cleaning ourselves. We're responsible for taking medication when we're sick. That's a mitzvah. Now, I'm a person who thrives on having control. And I want to have control not only over that cleaning and that polishing, but also over the sustaining of that sleek, clean, finished product. It's why knowing the ins and outs of my bodies in this way can sometimes be a challenge. Knowing how much insulin is active in my body at any given moment, knowing what my blood sugar is throughout the day. The intimacy with which I know my body means I also know that sometimes I can't fix it, no matter how hard I polish. As a kid, measuring my blood sugar meant pricking my finger somewhere between 6 and 8 times a day to get my sugar readings. And as the world has gone from CD booklets and CD players with extra batteries in your backpack to iPhones, so too has medical technology made tremendous advances. I now wear a device on my body 24/7 that does some of the blood sugar checking for me. I went from having 8 bloody fingers a day and 8 sugar readings a day to virtually no finger pricking and 288 readings a day. I also wear what's called an insulin pump that delivers little drops of insulin into my bloodstream every 3 minutes to keep my blood sugars level throughout the day. These devices have changed my life. They've given me the prospect of a healthier and a longer life. I'm also faced with their constant and unavoidable physical presence. Sometimes they'll get in my way when I'm putting on my belt in the morning, and they'll get caught in the loop. Sometimes I roll over them when I'm sleeping, and they'll wake me up. In a text about tefillin, we're given a set of instructions of what we're allowed and not allowed to do while we're wearing them. Tefillin are holy objects, and we need to treat them that way. At the end of that list of do's and don'ts, there's a line that says, "This is the Torah of humanity." What this text is trying to tell us is that the way that we treat our tefillin with honor and respect as holy objects can be a model for the way we treat people in the world. I did a little experiment a few weeks ago. I went back into the text, and every time I saw the word tefillin, I replaced it with insulin pump and continuous glucose monitor. How might I treat my medical devices if I saw them as holy objects? How might we treat people with disabilities or differences or diseases if we allowed their medical devices, their crutches, their pacemakers, their walking sticks, their hearing aids, to be seen as holy and essential reflections of who they are? This is the humanity of Torah. I sometimes wish I did not have to deal with all of this. Not only the blood sugar checks and the medication calculations, I also expend a lot of emotional energy processing and contemplating some of the statistics on diabetes. In the book of Prophets, we get 2 contradictory statements about resurrection and health. Jeremiah tells us that at the end of days, when we're resurrected back into this world, we will return with all of our defects. Isaiah says that at the end of days, we will return into this world with none of our defects. Reish Lakish, a rabbinic scholar, takes a look at these 2 statements and asks, how could they both be true? How could it be true that we return into this world with all of our defects and with none of them? His answer is that when we come back into this world, we enter with all of our defects, and then we're healed. Our defects, or our diseases, are a part of who we are. If we erase them from our memories, we start to question our identities. This is a discussion about whether we see bodies as broken or as holy and essential reflections of who people are in all of their brokenness. You are not broken. What this text is getting at and teaching us is that people have to be resurrected with their defects, or we're effectively denying who they are. I sometimes think back to that 7th grader, that kid who was so scared and ashamed of the secrets he was holding on to. I don't think he'd believe me if I told him that today I'm standing in front of a group of people, openly, letting it be filmed, talking about my disease. Not because he doesn't know I'm bold or like public speaking or that I love the attention. I think he wouldn't believe that the parts of me that I once thought of as shameful are the same parts of me that empower me. What are the parts of you that you sometimes hide? What are the parts of you that you're ashamed of? What are the parts of you that if you opened them up to other people, they might know you more fully. My disease and my experience of my body is holy because of, not in spite of, my difference. Thank you.